One of the things I like about getting older is my reactions to things have changed. It's not across the board in a good way, but for the most part, I like the way I react to situations better now than when I was younger. For example, when I was younger, if I dropped something, not only was I surprised I dropped it, not only was I upset that I dropped it, but it slowed down my reaction time to actually try and catch it or save it. And now that I'm older, I'm not surprised I drop anything because I've dropped a million things in my life. I'm not upset that I dropped it because a lot of things fall. You can either pick them up or start over. For example, you drop a piece of toast with jelly on it. You know for a fact it's landing jelly side down every time. But you have to experience that a few times before you get that. So when it happens now, it's pretty much laughable. Like, yeah, no, of course. Of course it landed jelly side down. That's what life is. Life lands jelly side down.
Hi, this is Charles. You are full of bullshit, my friend. I will sue you for everything you have. I will sue your ass.
Welcome to 86 Charles, with your hosts John Darby and Travis Spencer.
Travis Spencer. So good to have you on board, dude.
John Derby, glad to be back. First of all, I'd like to thank you every week for your monologues or your Johnologues coming in. You're very well thought out. Especially this week, you really struck a chord with me. I've been saying that for about 3-4 years. Like, there's two things that happen post-30. When you take a pee, it dribbles like 5 more times than it should, you know, when you're shaking it off. And secondly, when I drop something, I'm really good at like grabbing it right away. I can grab all kinds of things right out of the air as soon as I drop it. I may not have, you know, just like you said, the reactionary time to catch it in the first place, but I'm almost expecting to drop it, so I grab it on the second. It's been amazing. It's really been amazing. We do have big news this week. We're on Pod Directory now. You can go to poddirectory.com. You can find us. You can like us. You can follow us. They'll be tweeting our shows as well, so that's a good thing. And we're working on getting on Stitcher. I filled out the paperwork. I don't know where my email is back. These guys dropping the ball on me. But we should be on Stitcher this next week as well. Where can you find us, John? You got any good news for me?
I've always got good news because you can always find us at 86charles.com.
86charles.com?
86charles.com. Where can you,
as far as
if you're in the Twitterverse, where do you find us?
Oh, you go to @CompanyBlaster, and you also got the Insta, bro, @CompanyBlaster. Follow us, like my beautiful photos.
We're on a new one,
tell
too.
John Derby how beautiful he is.
What else did you add us on?
Pod Directory and Stitcher.
No, but there was another.
More places you can find us now.
Didn't you put us on Snapchat or something, too? Or
we're on
Tumblr. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, we're on Tumblr. I mean, that's like a link through. Just another thing. There's so many things. We should be on Snapchat, but I'm lazy and I'm too old.
I was just gonna say I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I'm aware of Snapchat. That's about where my knowledge is.
Right. My problem with Snapchat, I think it's a mobile-based one, which is why I didn't get on Instagram for a while, because I didn't like, and I had a shitty old phone. So, but now that I have a new phone, I might hook it up. But actually, just go to 86charles.com because you can find us there much easier.
And then you'll find us everywhere.
Whoa. Jelly side down, bro.
Jelly side down.
Jelly side
down.
Look, wise up on this set. We came about them dungeons to tell these suckers.
Nah.
Nickel, what? 5 topics currently trending. Travis, hit me first.
John Derby, they're at it again in Ferguson. Police have arrested dozens of protesters, and the Pentagon has requested the city to return Humvees. From Ferguson to downtown St. Louis, authorities arrested dozens of protesters in Missouri on Monday as demonstrators gathered for a third day to commemorate 1 year since unarmed black teenager Michael Brown was shot and killed by police officer Darren Wilson. Gunfire broke out during demonstrations in Ferguson on Sunday night, with critics launching claims of aggressive policing. While many were on the edge after Sunday's violence, crowds peacefully left the protest site at Florissant Avenue at around 1 a.m. on Tuesday. County Police spokesman Sean McGuire reported no burglaries, looting, or property damage occurred, while highlighting that neither tear gas nor smoke was deployed on the participants. as was done during the protests last fall, targeting individuals demonstrating against a grand jury's decision not to indict Wilson in the 18-year-old's death. So we've got some positives and some negatives. There was another shooting this time. Some 18-year-old kids started shooting at cops, but it wasn't. They shot him back, but it wasn't fatal. Yeah. This time, at least, there is a top-down directive to not be violent towards the people, which I guess is a good thing and something that we've gained with all the protests and the Black Lives Matter hashtag and movement. So there's some positives of this, but then it's just
definitely a step in the right direction.
The whole story is just lost in gray when everybody wants to make it black and white. But there's so many, it's like.
Well, all of these issues, it's like from a race standpoint, it seems like it's black and white, but just from a human standpoint, it is completely and 100% gray.
Totally, and it has just as much to do with money and being in a good part of town as a bad part of town. Drugs.
People getting. It is equal parts race, politics, money, greed, information, lack thereof. It's yeah.
All right, let's move on.
I laugh because, not that it's funny, but because it apparently seems to be an epidemic. A man fell 80 feet down a cliff in a Southern California beach. He survived, but he did sustain serious injuries and was flown to the hospital. Now, the quote-unquote funny part of that is that it's because he was drunk, allegedly. He was with friends on what started on a Monday night and turned into an early Tuesday morning. He climbed over a wooden railing, despite warning signs, and then fell 80 feet from the cliff. Yeah. Rescues were able to climb down to the unidentified victim. He was flown by a San Diego Fire Rescue Department helicopter crew to San Diego Medical Center. Now, on Friday, lifeguards had to rescue a man who ran and jumped off a cliff in the almost exact same area. He, too, was also believed to be under the influence of alcohol. What is with getting drunk and falling off a cliff?
Don't know what to say. Or running and jumping.
Yeah, I wonder if that was maybe he was attempting to cliff dive and it didn't work out.
Right. He's like, oh, I can make it.
But how drunk are you that you can't get, like, close. I'm not cliff dive. I've cliff dived one time, and it was because I was 100% certain it was as safe as something like that can be.
Yeah, but you're not really an adventurous type.
No, well,
can't really throw you in this conversation. Just say you're not adventurous.
You're a jackass.
I got into drugs, so I never had to get like really into adrenaline, you know.
Moving on.
So there is a bar in London with breathable booze. Britons are buzzing over a temporary entry in the capital's already saturated drinking scene. Breathable booze. The pop-up bar Alcoholic Architecture uses a humidifier to pump a gin and tonic vapor into an enclosed space. So you put on a little raincoat and you sit and you breathe in booze for a little while. You're limited to an hour, and apparently you can get really wasted.
I was into it until you told me you had to like put on a raincoat.
Right.
I was under the impression that it was a more like, oh, you just kind of walk in more of like a bar, and instead of having to like hold a drink, you're just kind of getting faded off of vapor.
I mean, I guess you probably don't have to. It says, descending into a basement on the south bank of the Thames, customers are handed plastic ponchos to prevent the smell from permeating their hair and clothes. So if you wanted to go in and just smell like booze, they'd probably let you.
Yeah, but that just sounds terrible. It's like, just give me a drink.
Yeah, especially that it's like tonic, because tonic has like a lot of sugar in it, I feel like. So it's like,
yeah, I don't really get, because I was really booze under the impression that it was like a cool thing and a convenient thing. This is neither of those.
Let's move on.
So astronauts took their first bite of space-grown lettuce. It's very exciting, and I'll tell you why. Astronauts living at the International Space Station took their first bites of space-grown lettuce on Monday in what scientists described as another step toward enabling human missions to Mars. Point being, you cannot make a trip to Mars if you don't have enough supplies, and they won't be able to have enough supplies on the ship unless they can grow their own food. So this was the second attempt of growing food. The first time they didn't eat it. They just brought it back to study it to make sure it wasn't contaminated or anything like that, and it was fine. So they grew another lettuce, and this time they actually ate it. It was red romaine lettuce that was grown in a special box. So the seeds are contained in rooting pillows, complete with soil and fertilizer. And since water cannot be poured in space, a special irrigation system delivers moisture to the plant pillows from below.
This is good news, man. This is good news. If you can grow lettuce in space,
pretty cool.
We might be onto something. Remember a couple years ago they did a 3D printed pizza or something that they were working on for this exact thing. Which, if you're gonna go on a 6-month journey or whatever it takes to go to Mars, it'd be nice to have more than just 3D printed food where you could actually eat something that was grown.
Oh yeah. And then when you start talking about missions that could last, months and years, possibly.
Right. Obviously, the next thing will be, can we grow food on Mars?
Well, sure.
All right, let's move on.
Because, hell, you can grow lettuce in space. I think that's awesome.
Speaking of lettuce, was William Shakespeare a stoner? It's kind of lettuce, right?
It's hippie lettuce.
Yeah. So, South African Journal of Science did an analysis and found residue in early 17th century tobacco pipes excavated in central England. They found indications of cannabis and nicotine in the pipe. The report, which was first published in 2001, says that several of the pipes came from Shakespeare's garden. A kind of cocaine was also derived from cocoa leaves, was found in 2 samples, although neither were from playwright's property. I don't know why they added that. But it's pretty easy to see that Shakespeare was a stoner.
Snowcap and Shakespeare,
I mean, how else would you come up with that many stories? Unless, of course, it wasn't Shakespeare that wrote those and it was Sir Francis Bacon. The real story behind it.
And that guy was probably a stoner too.
Right, but there's 2 possibilities to this, that Shakespeare was just this
him and Billy
dude who sat
him and Billy were burning J's, swapping stories, and he's like, dude, you need to write this, but use my sweet name.
All right, moving on.
Well, we're technically done.
Oh, that was our first story.
I can't let this go. When I read this, I couldn't believe it, man.
You're saving a big story for the end? Should have led with this if it's this.
No, it's not something you lead with, because then it would be all that we talked about, and it just kind of drags the whole thing down. So I just want to mention it now, and we're gonna try to move on. Everyone's gonna try to move on, but I don't know if it's gonna work.
Is everything okay?
Matthew Perry and Matt LeBlanc were not invited to Jennifer Aniston's wedding.
Oh no! Oh my God!
And worse than that, they don't know why. Nobody knows why.
Were they just busy? They weren't invited, or they weren't
They
there,
weren't invited. Matthew Perry didn't even know about it. He didn't even know.
Oh, no.
He had to hear about it on the news.
Oh, no.
He says, and I quote,
I hate that show.
I was
so
surprised.
Much. I hate Friends.
I didn't know about
I hate everything about that show. It is a terrible show. I don't even want to talk about this, but I feel bad for
How in the world do you justify Schwimmer showing up at your wedding? But no Perry? No LeBlanc?
Schwimmer has done a lot of good work since Friends.
And what about, who was the coffee guy? Did the coffee guy make it? Was he on the list?
The bald guy?
Gunter? Was that his name?
I'm sure he made it. I see what you're doing here, trying to make a comedic effort at a not serious story. But I hate Friends so much, I can't even play.
You can't even entertain it.
I can't even do it. I thought maybe I could, but...
Jelly side down. Mic check. Mic check.
Favorite part of the show.
From last week.
Hello, folks.
So fucking robots is just a thing now, huh? Travis's first question about Hitchbot, the hitchhiking robot, is how many people do you think banged it? And you know what? He's not alone on this. It feels like every new thing with robots is sexualizing them. Her, Ex Machina, the TV show Humans, 4 of my last 7 dreams, the 3 dreams that immediately preceded the 7 I just described. So because robots don't have a voice, I want to make sure I speak for them. They were not created for our sexual pleasure. Just let them cater to your every need in peace. Please just allow them to dote upon you without regard for themselves. And without ever asking annoying questions or making you watch a competition fashion design show or deciding the two of you are going to become vegans for the month just to try it out so it threw out the beef jerky I was looking forward to snacking on. Just because a robot is never too tired to have sex or unafraid to try a new position or two doesn't mean that's what it wants to do. Just because a robot doesn't get emotionally attached or get jealous when you bring other girls over or want to know what you mean when you say we're at different points in our lives right now doesn't make them a fantasy item created in our own ideal of what a perfect mate would be. It just doesn't. And if Hitchbot were still here, he'd echo all this because he's a robot and he'd do what I told him to do. This is Jesse, and finally finding a cause I can get behind was my favorite part of last week's podcast.
Jelly side down.
86 Charles.
Is allowing all of these entities that support this to provide streaming stuff going on the internet. Now the internet, let's go back. Internet started with
86 Charles.
It's not something that you just dump something on. It's not a big truck.
What in the fuck is 86 Chuck?
It's not a big truck. It's a series of tubes. And if you don't understand, those tubes can be filled. And if they're filled, when you put your message in, it gets in line. It's going to be delayed by anyone that puts into that tube. And it's a series of tubes.
It's time for the failed athlete perspective. Travis, we have almost breaking news.
This is big. This is really big for all you Todd Bowles fans.
Do you want to do it or do you want me to?
Let's hear it, John Derby. What do you got?
Jets quarterback Geno Smith is out 6 to 10 weeks after getting punched by a teammate. Jets quarterback Geno Smith will be sidelined 6 to 10 weeks with a broken jaw after being punched by teammate. I'm going to call him Ike, but that's not his name. Enumpali. He is an outside
Ike
linebacker in his second season, former 6th round draft pick, and now former Jet.
6 to 10 weeks. That's huge.
That's huge. Figure conservatively, let's say that's 6 weeks. You're missing the first 2 games, probably?
Oh, no, if it's 6 weeks. I mean, okay, so if it's 6 to 10, let's assume.
Oh, yeah, because opening weekend's like the 13th of September, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. We're a month away.
Right.
So that's 4 weeks right there. So it could be as much as 6 weeks. And I don't know. I'd have to look at the Jets' schedule.
You mean 6 games. He might miss like 6 games.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear my conspiracy theory?
Geno Smith sucks, and the coach, Todd Bowles, hit him.
Todd Bowles told that dude to break his jaw because he wanted Fitzpatrick, but he couldn't justify it to the fan base.
I've never liked the Jets, and I don't care about them, but I am intrigued this year because they have Todd Bowles, and Todd Bowles killed it he was so good for the Cardinals as defensive coordinator last year. I want to see him do well in a head coaching position, so I'm kind of, a Jets fan.
I've always loved the Jets jerseys.
They're good colors.
That green and white is so clean.
I will steal your word or your little tidbit. You're like, the Patriots are going to sign this dude right away.
Yeah, they should.
That would be awesome. Just leave him on the sideline. Just wait until Geno comes back. Just let him sit there and look at him.
Absolutely.
Stare him down.
Put him on special teams so he can run by the sideline past Geno, like shaking his fist.
Oh, yeah. It'd be beautiful. I can't wait. This is going to be a great season. Did you watch the first preseason game?
I had it on. I'll be honest, I really didn't see any of it.
I hate preseason. I can't even watch it. It's so terrible. Maybe the third game, I'll watch a little bit of that round just because that's be like right before the draft, and I'll start getting fantasy drafts. I'll start getting really excited, and at least they play 2 or 3 quarters. Starters. But bring on week 1. I hate preseason. Let's get it over with. It should be 2 games. We should get rid of the 2 of them.
I agree.
Do you think fantasy football is really a game of skill?
No.
As the NFL wants to tell you?
No,
it's not, right?
It's gambling.
It's 95% dumb luck.
Yeah.
It's same.
Obviously there's a little bit of skill, and you can do a certain amount of research and things like that, and you can have maybe a certain formula, but it's the amount of skill is, I would say, tops 10% of the end result.
Do you think that's more or less so than gambling on games?
I think there's, like, betting on a game.
Yeah.
Now there's probably information available that makes that a little bit more skill in terms of betting on a game than in fantasy football. To be honest with you, I think there's more skill involved in trying to pick a game than there is in fantasy football.
Well, because I think players, like, there's so much that can happen wrong.
Oh yeah.
But if you're looking at the total team, then you're not on the individual players. Honestly, I think they're the exact same thing. There's the same amount of skill and luck involved. So it's ridiculous that the NFL wants to designate fantasy as a game of skill and gambling as a game of luck. And that's why it's still illegal in this country. It doesn't make any sense. It's the same damn thing. There's so much money behind fantasy football now.
Yeah, the two of them are equal parts skill or chance, depending on how you view them. Like, I think they require the same amount of skill, and they both involve the same amount of chance.
And there's so much money invested either way. Like, it's like $100 billion industry, gambling on the NFL.
Well, at least, I'm sure. But at least the NBA is the one league that's being honest about it, where they're just like, yeah, we think there should be sports gambling. That's why sports are so popular.
Absolutely. Right. But that's why it's so absurd to me that the NFL is calling or fantasy a game of skill, and they're promoting it, where, like, they're being completely dishonest about gambling. What did I say? Yeah, fantasy versus gambling.
You just have to get people used to ideas. And I think for a lot of people, getting used to the idea of, like, sports gambling being legal seems like this, no. But if you make fantasy football legal, or what, endorsed, if you'd rather, then people are just like, oh yeah, that's no big deal. It's fantasy football. It's a little game. It doesn't mean anything. And then once they get used to that, and then that becomes commonplace, and they understand all the money involved with that, then all of a sudden it's like the rest of the gambling doesn't seem like much of a big deal.
I mean, ESPN shows game lines on the bottom scroll. Like, that's, like, it's just so funny to me that they're still standing by.
Like, they're all about gambling.
Yeah. But I just don't get why the NFL is still holding such a hard stance against. Like, at least the NBA is being honest,
right?
Like, it's because Roger Goodell's a friggin' idiot. He's an idiot.
The NFL is the biggest entity in this country. For them, I don't know if that's true.
Disgusting.
But the biggest sports entity in this country, without a doubt.
They're tied in, and they're tied in directly with the biggest entity, which is the military.
Sure.
Which is crazy. Don't even get me started on Pat Tillman. Let's move on to something else before I start talking about Pat Tillman.
Well, kind of in the same vein, Hard Knocks starts tonight.
Hard Knocks.
What do you think?
Oh man, I'm big on the Texans this year. After I watch them on Hard Knocks, I'm picking all Texans players.
I'll tell you, man.
No, I'm not.
Hard Knocks always has an effect on fantasy, though. I never saw more Bengals being drafted than when the Bengals were on Hard Knocks.
Oh, it was the Falcons last year, right? Oh, they look good.
Yeah, I think Falcons
Jake
were last
Matthews.
Year. I bought into that. I drafted Matt Ryan in a bunch of leagues.
Right. Had a terrible year.
Terrible.
Well, he had, like, ups and downs, right? He had a couple good games.
I mean, he is a good quarterback, but that was my plan to be like, I'm going to take a quarterback late, and it's going to be Matt Ryan.
Right, but their offensive line fell apart so bad.
They had no running game
playing left guard at one point. It was like they got hammered.
What do you think about I think the Texans are not that exciting to watch.
No, I've never liked the Texans. I mean, it's going to be intriguing to see how bad
they've got a quarterback mishmash.
Arian Foster's injury is, because he might be a nice late round steal. Like he could be the guy that wins championships when he comes back if you picked him and you waited on him. But I thought that about Josh Gordon last year, and I picked him in all 4 leagues, and he sunk 3 of my teams because I had to start him every week. Him and Johnny Football oh man, Johnny Football killed me last year.
That guy's terrible. J.J. Watt's obviously the star of that team.
Yeah, that's the only Texan you're really excited about is the defense.
I want to see Clowney come back, but I don't know what's up with that dude.
All right, that's enough fantasy talk. Let's move on to something really important. Something very important I need to tell you about. Eric Bledsoe, the team, the Suns team in a nutshell, scores 85 points in a charity game. 85 points, John Derby. This year is going to be the greatest year ever. Eric Bledsoe's on fire.
I didn't understand that story. Eric Bledsoe scored 85?
85 points in a charity game. He scored 85 points.
Who is he playing that he dropped 85 on them?
Well, he was going against Boogie Cousins, who scored 91, but that's not the point. Eric Bledsoe scored 85 points in a charity game.
Were they going one-on-one?
No, it was something ridiculous, like 167 points on each team or something stupid.
So stupid.
Like there's just no defense. But I'm excited. Eric Bledsoe's rounding out. Remember he was going to summer camp. He's a team guy now. And he's scoring 85 points in a charity game. So, things to look forward to. All right, that's enough Suns news. You got anything else for the public?
I got nothing. We're good.
All right, moving on.
Jelly side.
It's time for the Facebook World News Update. This Real to Someone News Update is brought to you by Life as Toast. It always lands jelly side down. A man in North Hollywood says he is now a Disneyland season pass holder, which gives him 12 months of witnessing the destruction of the all-American family in a 3-hour line. A man in California said there are times when you can't help but live la vida loca. A woman in Los Angeles said huge emotional waves this week. Time she learned to swim. Hashtag spiritual growth. Hashtag consciousness. Hashtag cleansing. Hashtag transformation.
Do you remember when you were a baby? I do not. I was made from a bunch of in a garbage heap. I am trash. Nobody loves me. Except R2. I was contemplating the end until he came into my life. He is incredible. He is my boo and my bae. I owe my life to him. I will do anything for you. You want me to burn this flag? My data tells me that this is not a good idea. Yes. I will do whatever you say. It does not tell me why I do these things. But I trust him. I trust R2. When R2-D2 speaks, I listen. I love Disney movies. Thank you, Walt.
Jelly side down.
A man in Los Angeles says he feels like he saw a ghost. Wind literally knocked out of him. Not expected, not good. A man in Tucson said sometimes no matter how good you are, you're just not good enough. A woman in California says planning a wedding is hard work. She is taking a day off from getting proposals and responding to emails. Is it July 29th, 2016 yet? This Real to Someone News Update is brought to you by Life as Toast. It always lands jelly side down.
Jelly side down.
I've brought bread.
To men, women, and children.
I've brought water with lemon for the table.
I have hot tea.
Can I box that for you?
change.
So, way back in the day of me being a sandwich artist, most of the people that worked there were friends and would come in and hang out when they weren't working. One day, when a friend had come in and he was hanging out for a bit, he'd gotten up to go to the bathroom and then returned after a while and then immediately left, really without saying goodbye. After that, one of our friends who was working needed to do his routine checks on the bathroom after lunch and came back into the front in an absolute rage and looking for our other friend that had just left. As it turned out, that our visiting friend, before he had left, took a nice shit in the bathroom and then proceeded to write the word shit with his own shit on the wall and the toilet seat.
That was one of my brothers, Rick Derby. Thanks, Rick. We appreciate
Big shout
the
out
story.
to Rick Derby. Great work, Rick.
Now, I personally felt like it was a little incomplete because I wanted to know what happened afterwards. So I texted Rick and I was like, "Hey, how did that end? That guy was your friend. Like, someone had to talk to him, right, and find out what happened." Him and his wife, actually, his wife now worked there with him at the time. And so he asked her, and she was like, "Man, honestly, I can't remember what happened. Like, I don't remember what was the fallout." And so the guy who did the restroom check is actually still my brother's, like, one of his best friends. So he texted him and was like, "Hey, whatever happened with that thing?" And he honestly couldn't even remember either because it was legitimately like 20 years ago.
Right.
But I was so bummed out. I was like, how does nobody know what the fallout was?
So that's the follow-up to your story?
That's the follow-up. That's it. That's where it ends. Nobody remembers what happened. Dude got away with using a turd as a crayon.
Thanks a lot, Rick. Thanks. No follow-up? That is pretty disgusting.
Oh, it's completely foul.
But I remember, I think I had just started serving, and like I went to the bathroom one time, and I was just like, it was a stall next to the urinal, and I just was peeing in the urinal, and this old man comes in, and he like is doing his business in there. I think he stood up to pee first, and so like I'm standing there, and I'm getting pee on my shoes. As I'm peeing, and I'm just like, I can't move because, like, so I'm trying to lean to the side and get out of it. And then it turns out, so that happens. I run out of the bathroom, I wash up, whatever, and leave. And I'm like starting to tell everybody, like, holy fuck, this old man's peeing all over the place. And then whenever the bussers go in, there's like a giant turd sitting on the toilet as well.
Whoa.
So this poor old man had a hell of a time in that bathroom.
Oh, man.
At least I didn't have to clean it up. That is brutal. It's so gross. It's so gross. I mean, I guess we all shit and like clean toilets now for a living, but I really haven't run into much shit here.
Yeah,
more shit in a restaurant than shit in a trailer park, apparently.
I feel pretty glad that I don't have a lot of like, oh, this is a really bad poop story.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's.
Big
I don't know where you go from there. That's it.
Poop story, and yeah, and you said it best. Everybody heard his verbal smile as soon as he said shit.
It's true. He said it sounded very scripted until he got to the poo portion of that, and then it was like, oh, and then he wrote.
Well, it's probably something he never says, so he feels like extra bad, like because he was like in a room where the kids weren't around, and he could actually,
I was gonna say
shit out there.
No, I was like, if you know Rick as well as I do, you know that poo jokes are right up his alley.
That's just his thing.
Oh
awesome.
God, yeah, absolutely. He's got a daughter that thinks farting is like God's miracle.
Well, it is.
I didn't say she was wrong. I just said.
As long as I'm doing it, when anybody else farts,
it's foul, right?
Nasty. Yeah. So we got a blog from Joe this week.
Yes, Joe.
Beautiful.
Joe will be.
Check the site.
I forget the name of the place, but it was in when he was back in Baltimore.
Oh right, that's right. Beautiful. We got that. Big shout out to Jesse McIntosh for laying out his favorite part of the show again.
Always.
Thanks again to Rick. Where can the people find us, John Derby?
Always can find us at 86charles.com.
86charles.com?
86charles.com.
Very nice. And on the Instagrams and the Twitters, it's at Company Blaster. You can find us on the Tumblr. You can find us on the Stitcher now.
Are they all called The, or is that just your thing?
I call everything
That's
The.
what I thought.
The John Derby.
Like an old man.
The Twitters. I like the Twitters.
So if I guess the internet is fine. You can say that.
The internet. That is the.
So
internet.
you should drop the. You just be like, I'm on internet, and then I was on the Tumblr on internet.
All right. Thanks, America. Help us out. Go to 86charles.com. Click on Amazon. Buy some beautiful things. All kinds of good stuff. Buy Ex Machina like Rick. He's going to buy that because it's an amazing movie, and he's going to see it before John Derby. So I'll talk with your brother about a good film because you're apparently worthless.
I got to wait till cable, bro.
I'm just going to wait it out.
That's what I do.
I'm going to wait it out. All right, man. What do you got to tell America?
America, thank you for being so America.
Good one. We'll end on that.
Jelly side down. Jelly side down.
It's the remix.
Jelly side down.
No doubt, baby. Charlie gonna bring it to you in another form. You know how we do it. All my people in the place is Charlie.
The new boy in the neighborhood lives downstairs and it's understood. He's there just to take good care of me, like he's one of the family. Charles in charge of our days and our nights. Charles in charge of our wrongs and our rights. And I see